All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the ASAP Sports Network, and you are watching another episode of the ASAP Sports Minute with Ace, and then I'm joined by J-Mac and none other than the wonderful Vic. What's going on tonight, guys?
Oh, not a whole heck of a lot.
So
I'm burning up. I got my fire going too hot.
Right?
Sweating it out.
You're sweating it out. So before we get started, I'll just let everybody know that today's show is being brought to you by Suzanne's Bling. Her paparazzi accessories are $5 jewelry. It's actually 24/7 shopping available, and it's going to be paparazzi. And then actually the phone number on there is actually 541-294-5218. So if you are interested in that, remember we have a special deal for ASAP Sports viewers.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the code is 920160.
Yes, correct. All right, so tonight, before we get started, I will let everybody know that tonight is kind of a special episode of the Sports Minute, if you will say. Because generally, what we do on Sports Minute, as everybody knows, is we basically, talk about things that have happened in the sports world today. But we're not doing that. We've got some pretty cool topics to bring you guys. We'll even talk about teams from history. So I think this is going to be a very exciting show. I really think everybody is going to enjoy it. So how about we go ahead and jump into it and get started?
Edge of your seat stuff. It's edge of your seat stuff.
Absolutely. So our first topic tonight is going to be the top 5 worst GMs of all time.
Yeah.
I think this is going to get interesting because I'm pretty sure that when we look at our list, most of us may have one or two of the same guys in there. So I will go ahead and I will actually start with J-Mac on this one. So J-Mac, who do you have at number 5 on your list? Just give me number 5.
Well, let me tell you that I looked through all sports and I couldn't find any as terrible as some NFL GMs that we've had. So mine is definitely going to be NFL heavy, I will say. I believe they're all actually NFL in the end, but there have been some terrible GMs in all sports.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not going to start at number 5. I'm going to start at number 6, and I'm going to tell you that number 6, which could have made the top 5, was John Hart for the Atlanta Braves when he destroyed that team, by the way, and signed Freddie Gonzalez as a manager. It was the absolute worst GM in Atlanta history, no doubt. So we can disagree, Vic. That's fine, but that would have been my number 6. He was right there towards number 5. But number 5, I have Matt Millen for the Detroit Lions. I don't know how he hung around. How he hung around as long as he did. The guy didn't have 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 first round flops in a row as a GM. And I don't know how he hung around to even make another pick the following year. But the pick he made the following year happened to be Matthew Stafford. So he got 1 out of 5 right and then got fired promptly after that. Number 4, I could not pick one here. I looked through all of them, and they were all equally terrible. Every Cleveland Brown GM in history is at number 4 because they are awful. Okay, they've been awful for years. And so I just put all Cleveland Brown GMs at number 4. Number 3, Jerry Jones. Dude, come on, man. You're an owner, not a GM, and you're better being an owner. You don't know how to pick talent. Like, I know you got talent on your team, and you got some good offensive players, but you have won 6 playoff games in 25 years. You haven't been to a conference championship since 1995. And yet every year we still manage to hear about how your team's going to be the best in the NFL. So, Jerry Jones, you're number 3 of the worst GMs. Number 2 is in the same division, and it's Dan Snyder. Dan Snyder is awful. Okay? Owner and GM just like Jerry Jones, and the dude doesn't know what he's doing. Does not know what he's doing. Number 1, and I don't think there could ever be anybody worse than this. Let me start with the first thing he did. The first thing he did was he signed, I think y'all know where I'm going with this. I think you know where I'm going with this, Vic.
Brock Osweiler.
He signed Brock Osweiler to a
Yeah,
4-year deal
Brian.
in Houston. And then he traded away Denard Hopkins.
Denard.
I'm sorry, DeAndre Hopkins. I don't even know where that came from.
Denard
He traded away DeAndre Hopkins for a bag of chips. The best receiver in the league. He traded him away for a bag of chips. Oh, that's right. He did sign Deshaun Watson to a long-term deal. Huh. Then he got fired. So,
well, he didn't trade Watt. He didn't trade Watt.
Uh-huh. But he did let Clowney walk in free agency.
Right, yeah.
Didn't even try to re-sign him. I mean, it's bad when you bring Ed Reed, who's possibly the greatest safety of all time, you bring him to a team, and after like 7 games, he just is like, I'm hurt and I can't play anymore, and then leaves the team after a year. That tells you how bad that situation was. So those are my top 5.
So, original or sour cream?
Original.
All right. Yeah, I guess we'll go with original because I don't know if you're talking about potato chips or what, so we'll go with
Yeah, he was
original.
talking about what kind of chips did he get for DeAndre Hopkins, I'm guessing was the comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, definitely with the way that went, I would definitely say original because there was nothing. there
was nothing extra.
Yeah. There
nothing
was
special about that.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'll go ahead and I will say that I have one guy the same as you, actually.
Only one?
Yeah, only one the same. Well, no. I'm sorry. 2 the same as J-Mac. But just in a little different order. Number 5, and this might actually surprise you. My number 5 worst GM of all time is Bill O'Brien. He came in at number 5. And that was because we know the horrible decisions that he made in Houston. I don't even know what he was thinking. Giving away all of his star players. The only 2 things, like you said, he did good. Number 1 was he signed Watson to an extension. And number 2, he managed to hold on to J.J. Watt. That was pretty much about it. Then coming to number 4, I actually went to the baseball side. And I actually went with Dave Littlefield, the GM for the Pirates. This dude, you want to talk about a dude that has destroyed a franchise. This guy absolutely destroyed a franchise. He was in Pittsburgh for 6 years, and it seemed like every time they got some kind of star in Pittsburgh, he was the type of GM that said, well, he's too good, so I think I need to trade him. And then he would trade him, and he would end up trading him for a bag of chips too. So if you want to hear in his time as GM, all around pretty much the league and everywhere else, he had a record. He had 890 wins, 1,324 losses as a professional GM. That's horrible. Yep. And then my number three GM would be Randy Smith from the Detroit Tigers. That might surprise you a little bit.
That one's a little surprising because, I mean, they have had some good players come through there, and they did have a few winning seasons. But you're entitled to your own opinion.
No.
It's cool.
No, they had some winning seasons, but that was after he was there. Do you realize that when this guy was manager, he went after a guy by the name of Juan Gonzalez. And when he went after Juan Gonzalez, he traded 6 guys to get Juan Gonzalez. 6 guys. And then after that, Juan Gonzalez wanted a contract extension. They didn't give it to him, so what did he do? He traded him. So he trades 6 guys for Juan Gonzalez and then decides to trade him. I'm looking at a comment here. Let's see. Freddie was referring to Jerry Jones. He said,
Yep.
Not coach. He's a good businessman, though.
Well, duh.
Yeah, he sells us every year on the hype.
Right.
right.
He's made a team with no conference championship games in 25 years into the highest grossing franchise in the NFL. So, yeah, he's a great businessman.
Right. Yeah. All right. My number 2. I actually went to NBA on this one. And I went to Elgin Baylor from the Clippers. In his time with the Clippers, the dude had 5 seasons to where the Clippers had 65 or more losses. 5 seasons of 65 or more.
That's not good.
No, that's not good at all. In his whole time with the Clippers, he had 2 winning seasons in his time. 2. And the year that he won Executive of the Year, it kind of made me wonder, because he won it once. But what I'm confused about is when he won it, it kind of makes me think maybe the league was so shocked that the Clippers actually had a good year that they decided to give it to him. That they're like, wow, the Clippers did good. They won 45 games, so we got to give it to them. So that was my number 2. And then my number 1, J-Mac, you already said it. The number 1 worst GM of all time, Matt Millen. He completely destroyed that Detroit Lions team. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I would say the only 2 things he did good was Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson. Those were 2 positive things. Now, if you remember, he did draft Roy Williams also. But what ended up happening with Roy Williams? Exactly. He was good with the Lions, but then the Lions let him go, and then the Cowboys offered him this massive contract, and then did nothing with the Cowboys.
Wait. So he went from Matt Millen
to Jerry Jones.
And again, think about those 2. Jerry Jones gave him a lot of money. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so those were my top 5 worst GMs. So on this one, I'll go ahead and give it to Vic because I'm really excited to see what she happened to come up with.
Mine are better. Okay. Coming in at number 5, Ryan Pace, Chicago Bears, current GM. You say why? Why? Because he traded up to draft Mitchell Trubisky. You know who he passed on? Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Christian McCaffrey. You drafted Mitchell Trubisky. Come on.
With the 2nd pick in the draft.
Yeah, that's. Number
Yeah.
4, Matt Millen. You've already
Okay.
covered it. We're good. I'm not going to go any further into him because I don't like him. Number 3, Howie Roseman of the Eagles. 2017 draft class. Is there anybody still playing from that draft class for the Eagles? No. And then you draft Jalen Hurts when all you need is maybe a receiver, possible. But you draft another quarterback, but you already have a quarterback, and you suck this year. Number 2, Bill O'Brien. One word, DeAndre.
Right?
Not Denator. DeAndre. So this may make you think, who's number 1? Who could possibly be worse than them? I hand you Frank Wren of the Atlanta Braves.
Oh,
Mr.
Oh,
yes.
Mr.
You got
Wren
me on that one.
is responsible for Derek Lowe, Kenshin Kawakami, Van Ugler, and BJ Upton. He did all 4.
All right,
All 4 of them were him.
So, Vic, this comment was towards you, and it
Yeah.
said he wasn't the only one to pass on Lamar and Pat.
But he had the number 2 pick. He went up to get the number 2 pick. Anybody below that, I don't care. You drafted to get the number 2 pick to draft Mitchell Trubisky. How do you have a job?
So I agree with all those. I just want to point out something real quick. We're talking about the worst GMs. Who's a great GM right now? Anyone know the GM in Miami?
Alex
For the
Anthopoulos
Dolphins?
is a good GM.
Yes.
Yes.
But the GM for the Miami Dolphins right now is going to look like a genius. They're second place in their division, and he has 3 first-round picks this year. 3.
Well, yeah. Well, because
And one
he's
of them is
genius
from the
with how he does it.
Texans. So he could end up in the top 5 of a draft pick, and he could make the playoffs and have a top 5 draft pick this year.
Yeah. He's genius, I tell you. But there's some. I like how, like with the Oakland A's, Billy Bean, how he does his drafting, because he goes from lower.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hold on here. Freddie Henderson, the Packers GM, is horrible for drafting a quarterback in the first round. And Freddie, for some reason, I knew you were going to go down that route, because for some reason and I know you've been mad about that whole draft pick this whole time. I understand that, because I know you're saying, we need to draft a receiver, blah 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 blah. But it's time to get over that, because we still have some weapons, and the trade deadline is coming up. Was it a bad draft pick? I don't know, because it depends on what they plan on doing with Aaron Rodgers at this point. How long are we going to keep him for? It's hard to say at this point. So you got to have somebody behind Rodgers, and I'll tell you what, Deshaun Kaiser wasn't the guy. Brett Hundley wasn't the guy.
Neither was Scott Tolzien.
Tim Boyle, he's not the guy.
Matt
So,
Flynn.
Matt Flynn was the man for one game. For
Not
one
only
game.
For one game. Whenever he came in and whenever he had to fill in, he did good. He did good. I tell you, it was the system.
It was a system. All right.
All right.
What's the next
so
topic?
Now we go to, and this topic is awesome, because now we're going to go to the top 5 worst franchises of all time. This one, and I will go ahead and I will let Vic start on this one. So Vic, you go ahead and you take it away. This is all you.
All right. We're going back in time a little bit to the 70s. And we're going to go with the Detroit Wheels. Who are the Detroit Wheels, you say? They're a football team. Not a good
Sorry,
one.
I was laughing at
Freddie Henderson.
the Cowboys.
Word on the street is that before the first snap, a Detroit Wheels player vomited on the field, then went into the huddle and threw up on the ball. They they were a World Football League team, so it wasn't like NFL. They had Larry Zonka, Kenny Stabler, so they weren't like horrible, but they were bad. Um, they went 1-13, and they didn't last very long at all. So number 4, the Charlotte Bobcats.
Mhm.
Michael Jordan's illegitimate franchise child. I don't even know what to say about them. They're horrible. Um, his best move was to fire himself as president. Didn't Charlotte turn into the New Orleans Pelicans?
They did, and now they're back to the Charlotte Hornets.
Yes.
They're back to the Charlotte Hornets again?
Yes, they relocated. So basically, they were so bad that, well, I'll get into that in a little bit. So,
Number 3 was back in the 40s. We have the Providence Steamrollers.
Aye.
Pro basketball. They promise fans a ding dong battle.
And guess what? They ding dong with the towel out the door, and they threw in the towel.
After 3 years, they had a .274 winning percentage, and they threw in the ding dong towel.
Mm-hmm.
They did. Flip the page over. Number 4, Buffalo Bills. You say what? I'm talking back when OJ is your best player so far in your franchise,
Mhm.
and you're best known for losing 4 Super Bowls in a row. 4 in a row. Like 4 in a row. And they play home games in Toronto. Canada. We don't like Canada. Number 5, I had a tie. I had the Seattle Mariners and the Los Angeles Clippers. Seattle Mariners because they signed horrible free agents, and then they trade them.
And they're the only major league team to never make the World Series.
There you go. And the Los Angeles Clippers because they've never won a conference finals. Ever. They choke. Every year, and I love it. That's it. That's all I got.
That was your list. Not a bad
That
list.
was 6. I threw in a bonus.
Yeah, that's not a bad list. So I
like my
have
list.
a few of the same that you had, Vic. So actually, starting at number
Mike
5,
Pence's fly is on my cup.
Huh?
I said Mike Pence's fly is on my cup.
Oh
That's
man.
funny. so number 5 on my list, and I'm actually surprised. Maybe J-Mac put them on his list, but my number 5 team, I actually went with the Detroit Lions, and I went with the Lions because, come on, they've never reached an NFC championship. They haven't panned out to pretty much anything. When's the last time the Lions did anything? How many people do you actually see walking around that will admit and say, I'm a Lions fan?
I know one.
The Lions have not been relevant in quite some time. So, and they made some bad coaching decisions, some bad GM decisions. They were just an all-around mess. So that was my number 5 team. And come back to that running back for a second. They had one of the best running backs ever in the NFL in Barry Sanders. And the dude quit early because the Detroit Lions were so bad and he knew they weren't going to do anything and they weren't going to trade him. So he basically threw in the towel and said, I'm done.
Well, his number
He's buffering.
4,
He's buffering.
we have no idea. But yeah, think about that team for a minute, Vic. Who the Lions had in the 90s, like all those players they had,
Yeah.
and they still mustered exactly one playoff win.
Yeah.
One.
With Barry Sanders, which is the crazy part. So my number 4 team, like I said, was the New York Mets. I put them at number 4. And I know they won a few World Series. I know they won 2 in their franchise. But think about this. Think about the Mets. Think about how good they've actually had some decent pitching in their career. Like in their franchise, they've had some good pitching. They even had a pitcher by the name of Nolan Ryan. And what they do with him, they traded him. They traded Nolan Ryan.
They also had Tom Seaver at one time.
Yes, and Tom Seaver asked for a raise, and they told him no. And it's like, you don't deserve it. It's Tom Seaver. What do you mean he doesn't deserve it? So yes, the New York Mets, number 4 on the worst franchises of all time. Number 3, this was a team that Vic actually had, the Charlotte Bobcats, because the Bobcats were horrible. The Bobcats were so bad that when they decided to move from the Charlotte Hornets, they decided, oh, let's go with the Bobcats. There was this whole thing with the city that they had bad luck with the city, so they had to they had to relocate. They became the Bobcats. Michael Jordan took over. Let's just say that didn't end well with them, because the Bobcats right now are known in the history of the NBA for having a 7-win season, the worst season in the history of the NBA. Not even who we call the GOAT in basketball could turn that team around. They were so bad. They had to relocate again to become the Charlotte Hornets. That's how bad they were. My number 2 team of all time, I went with one team that you had, Vic, and I actually went with the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills, they've been bad as a franchise overall. Like you said, their biggest thing was losing 4 Super Bowls in a row. When you're known for that, that's bad. Your best player, OJ. Now, don't forget, they did have a Jim Kelly. They did have him. They had a Thurman Thomas and a Herman Moore. So, those were probably their best players. Other than that,
Bruce Smith.
Yes. Bruce Smith on defense. I forgot about him. I'm sorry. Then my number 1 worst team of all time, J-Mac, you probably know where I'm going with this, because you know how I felt about this franchise forever, the Toronto Maple Leafs. And this might actually surprise some people, because the Toronto Maple Leafs, in their franchise history, yes, they have 13 titles. 13. But why they're such a bad franchise is because they won all 13 of their titles before 1967. Since 1967, they haven't done anything. Nothing. That's how bad this franchise is now. This franchise is done. When people ask about the Maple Leafs, you say, yeah, they're still a hockey team. People are shocked. They're like, really? The Maple Leafs still have a hockey team? That's how irrelevant this team is now. It's so shocking. So, yeah, that's my number 1 worst franchise of all time. So I'll go ahead and I'll turn this one over to J-Mac. I want to see how many of the same teams that he has.
Well, I have a couple that both of you have. Well, I'd say like 1 or 2 from you and maybe 1 from Vic, but a couple that maybe you guys didn't hit on. My number 5 is actually the Toronto Maple Leafs, and you would think they should be higher on the list. I could see that, but when I get to these other teams, you'll find out why they were at number 5. But the Toronto Maple Leafs, like you said, haven't done anything since 1967. They have 1 division title since 1965. That happened to be in 1967, the last year that they won the Stanley Cup. And they have 5 division titles all time and 1 since 1965. They have 0 conference championships. They have never won the conference, ever. They have 3 playoff appearances since 1967. We are talking about a team that has been in the playoffs 3 times in 53 years.
Well, yeah, because just think, at one point, if you remember, this Maple Leafs team went 15 consecutive years without making the playoffs.
3 times in 53 years they've made the playoffs. That's stupid. That's what it is. It's stupid.
That's stupid.
Yeah. Number 4. This is one that Vic had, and I'm glad she hit on it because I didn't think anyone was going to find this team. I have to admit that. But I'm glad she found it. and that's the Providence Steamrollers. Like, I looked at this team and I am like, what in the heck? They were 46 and 122 in 3 years. They never sniffed the playoffs. Their best finish was 21 games behind 8th place. They had a season in which they won 6 games. And we're not talking 6 games out of 16 or 20. They were 6-48 that year. 6-48. Their all-time franchise winning percentage is 274. There's been one team in the history of basketball that had a worse winning percentage than that. That team played 1 year. That was the original Denver Nuggets. They were 11-41, and their winning percentage was 268. So 6 percentage points below this team, and they only played 1 season. So that's how bad the Providence Steamrollers were. Number 3 is actually a tie for me. Number 3 is the Prairie View A&M in college football. So let me explain this. They lost 80. That's 8 with a 0 behind it. 80 consecutive games from 1988 to 1997. They lost 80 consecutive games. That's bad. And they are in a tie with the Pittsburgh Pirates, who went 22 consecutive seasons with a losing record. 22 straight years under 500. 1992 started that streak before they got back over 500, and they still haven't been in the playoffs. So 22 consecutive years. Number 2, hope you guys didn't forget about this team. The Montreal Expos.
Nope, I didn't forget. I just thought that they were a little bit better than some of these franchises.
They played for 36 seasons in Montreal, and they made the playoffs as many times as the 3 of us have in Major League Baseball.
We got to remember that they were in the lead in the strike shortened season.
I knew someone was gonna bring that up, and I get it, but still,
they had a dang good team in that.
They did. I mean, some of those teams.
They were like 76-30 when the strike happened.
I mean, you're talking Larry Walker, Dante Bichette. They had Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, and I know I'm missing a bunch of guys. Those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head, but that team was stacked, and they were going to win the World Series that year. There is no doubt. But yeah, they made it exactly 0 times in 36 seasons in Montreal. And number 1, got rag on a lot of teams in the NFL, but there's never been a team that's been this bad. This team hasn't made the playoffs since 2002. All right. And they haven't won a playoff game since 1988. Cleveland Browns. They're the worst franchise in American sports. There's there's not even any comparison for me. They are horrible. Maybe this year they're 4-2. Yeah, cool, but they are a bad franchise. Bad.
I mean, yeah, they're bad, but you kind of match them up with the Lions a little bit, because the Browns and Lions are like the 2 teams that went 0-16 in NFL history, and so you're like, which team's better when you match them up?
They drafted Johnny Manziel. That should be enough.
Hold on. And this is the other one I'll say, Vic. Thanks for that one, but I'll tell you this one. This is why Cleveland made the list and Detroit didn't. At least Detroit knows sometimes when they have a bad coach and they get rid of him. Cleveland had a coach that went 1-30-1 in 2 seasons. He lost 30 of 32 games, and they still hesitated to fire him at the end of the season.
They're rebuilding.
There will never be another coach that bad in the history of the NFL. It's not possible.
About Cleveland, you're talking about, it was Hugh Jackson by the way in Cleveland that they kept around. Even though he kept losing, everyone's like, dude, this guy has to get fired. He's 1-30-1. Like, that's crazy.
Yes.
How can he not be fired?
Yeah,
Didn't Bud Light offer free beer when they finally won a game?
something like that.
Yeah,
Like
so
fridges that automatically unlocked when they
well,
won?
no, when Cleveland won that game, yeah, then Cleveland Stadium actually offered all the free beer. They said you can
Oh.
come and get a free beer because we had won a game, and Cleveland said that their coolers were like completely empty within a few hours. They were emptied that fast. And it actually doesn't surprise me at all. They celebrated that long. Okay, so
Celebrate!
the next topic that we're going to jump into is we're going to switch to MLB a little bit, and we're going to talk about who we believe is the best center fielder of all time.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
So the best center fielder of all time, I really had to think about it, but it came down to two people in my opinion, and it might sound like I'm being biased, but I'm really not. I was just truly impressed with these two center fielders. Number one, so there's like 1A and 1B. Number one was obviously Willie Mays. How can you not put Willie Mays in that category? The guy was a 24-time All-Star. He won 12 gold gloves, 660 home runs. He was a phenomenal center fielder. Number two behind him, laugh if you want, and I know J-Mac's going to be like, you got to be kidding me. But I went with Andrew Jones.
Jesus.
And the only
Hey,
reason...
watch
yeah,
yourself.
The only reason I went with Andrew Jones, you're not, like... You might look at some of the years he struggled at the plate, and I completely understand that. But he changed the game defensively after Willie Mays. You could not hit the ball in Andrew Jones' direction, and the guy would be able to make the catch. That's how phenomenal of a center fielder he was. He also won 10 gold gloves with the Atlanta Braves. In 12 seasons, he won 10 gold gloves. So I put Willie Mays a little bit over Jones, but it was close. It was really close. So this one, I'll go with J-Mac.
Willie Mays is the greatest center fielder of all time. And it's not close. It's not close. I have to look at the entire body of work, and that's what I look at. I'm not denying that Jones was not a great defensive center fielder because I'd take him over almost any center fielder in baseball today. No doubt. Defensively, I'm not arguing with any of that. But Willie Mays was defensively a great center fielder, and he played offensively in a time that's considered the dead ball era when pitchers dominated the game, and he still hit 660 home runs. Andrew Jones played in a time when you're talking about offensive power, you're talking about offense, and didn't get close to that number. Should have had a lot more home runs, should have had a lot hit for a lot better average. So all around, Willie Mays is the greatest center fielder of all time.
Well, now
Defensively, I will not sit here and deny that Andrew Jones was not great because he was. He was. And I loved watching him play center field. I didn't like it when he went to the plate. I always kind of cringed a little bit. I kind of do now with a lot of the power hitters for the Atlanta in the lineup. So, but yeah, defensively, they're pretty close. But all around, Willie Mays is the greatest ever.
Well, no, and so that's why I said I put Willie Mays a little bit ahead of Jones because of the offensive side that he played. But the defensive side, man, it was really close. That's too close on that side of the ball. I'm telling you, it's that close. So Vic.
So Willie Mays, yeah, hands down. There's not even 302 average over 22 years. That's never going to be seen again. And I am a diehard Brave fan, totally. But we're forgetting one center fielder.
And I
the
know
kid, the kid, Ken Griffey.
Yeah.
Power, lefty, and pretty good defense if I remember correctly. He played for Seattle, so it was not his fault. It's not his fault he played for a horrible franchise that didn't know how to use him. But I would put him above Andrew. Not a lot, but offensively, absolutely. I mean, he's Ken Griffey Jr. I mean, that's all I gotta say. That's all I got.
Okay,
The
well, when you
kid.
talk, but when you talk about center fielders too, and we got to look at today's baseball also, because when you look
Right.
at today's baseball, there's somebody that plays today's baseball that's probably top 5 center fielder of all time, and that's Mike Trout. Mike Trout
Yeah.
is definitely in that category because of defensive wise and offensive wise. So if you're going with both, yeah, Mike Trout is top 5 today. Mike Trout is the best center fielder in the game today.
Currently playing, yes.
Yes, he is. Today, he's the
In
best center
20
fielder in
years, he
baseball.
may still be there. Who knows?
He might, but right now in the game today,
Right now,
he's
yeah.
the best.
Well, this wasn't about right now, right?
No,
This was
but
all time.
yes, all time. I get that, but I'm saying still all time. If you're looking at Mike Trout, he's still got to be in the top 5.
I don't know. You got Ty Cobb, you got Mickey Mantle. I mean, I don't see how you put him above them right now.
Ooh. Because of, I know he hasn't won a ship yet, and I know he hasn't, but he's accomplished a lot in his young career. And his
Absolutely.
young career, he's accomplished a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So the next category, this one's going to be really, really fun. This one is who stole the most money from any franchise? What player has? And if
Oh
I had,
my goodness.
and if I had to guess, and I'm going to take a shot in the dark on J-Mac on this one, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I might take a snab at who you said, and because I know we briefly said Bobby Bonilla, but I don't think you went that route. But I might go with Kirk Cousins.
Ooh. You know what?
Ooh.
Actually, I did a top 5 list, and he didn't make the list. But I could tell you my top 5 right now. And my 5th, I am sorry. I know this is going to be a homer thing because I'm an Atlanta Braves fan. But Dan Uggla, oh, man, he stole so much money from Atlanta. The guy was awful. Like he had eye surgery in the middle of the season.
And he got worse.
And he got worse.
Yeah, right.
You're talking about a guy who had a 32-game hitting streak in the middle of a season, and he raised his batting average to 211.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's how bad he was. And he stole a lot of money. He signed a 5-year, and at the time, that was a lot of money. He signed a 5-year, $81 million deal. He stole $81 million from Atlanta. It was bad. And defensively, oh my God. You didn't want to play him just because he sucked so bad at second base.
Well, I will remind you about something, though. When they left him off the roster in the playoffs, I will remind you of a guy. It was a bad decision. He should have played, because I'm going to remind you of a guy, Brooks Conrad.
I mean, okay,
You almost made me throw up. We don't
Right?
speak that name in my house.
Right,
I mean,
so-
yeah, it was bad.
Bumbling
But-
Brooks.
But okay, Dan. Oh God, Dan Uggla. I don't even want to talk about him anymore. Number 4, Carl Crawford, Boston Red Sox. He signed a 7-year, $142 million deal with Boston after he played great in Tampa, right? He hit 222 and played 80 games of that contract for Boston in a $142 million deal. Number 3, you guys remember this one. I know you do, because it sunk a franchise. That's how bad this contract was. And it's the longest contract on the list. D. Pietro in the NHL for the Islanders. They signed him as their goalie. They signed a 25-year-old D. Pietro to a 15-year deal. 15 years, Vic can't even believe it. 15 years for $187 million. And in the end, he played 111 games. He hasn't played in a game since 2012, and he will be getting paid until 2029. That's how much money he stole from that franchise. Number 2. Tell me if you remember this name. Gilbert Arenas.
Oh, Gilbert Arenas, yes. Old Arenas.
They signed him to a 6-year, $111 million deal in the Washington Wizards. He played exactly 14 games before the infamous gun incident in the locker room after signing that contract. 6 years and $111 million. Then they shipped him off to Orlando, where he played 31 games before being cut and never playing in the NBA again. And that was a fully guaranteed contract, by the way. So he made $111 million. Number 1, I actually am going to go with who you said first, Bobby Bonilla, because July 1st is an unofficial holiday in sports, and it's called Bobby Bonilla Day. Because, I mean, it is unreal that the Mets will pay him $1.2 million every year until 2039. The guy makes $1.2 million a year and hasn't taken – he has not stepped on the field or had an at-bat in baseball since the year 2000. And he'll get paid until 2039. You want to talk about a guy that stole money from a franchise. And I looked up this history, by the way. Do you know that the Mets had a chance to buy him out after the 2000 season? They could have bought him out for $12.5 million and been done. But instead, their GM and his agent worked out a deal for him to get paid $1.1 million for the next 39 years. Maybe the Mets GM should have been like the worst of all time. I don't know. Like that's a bad deal for that franchise.
Well, that's why
I think that was the owner that set that deal up.
I mean, yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, and
that's kind of like when the Bernie Madoff thing hit, and they were trying to clear that off their books.
Yeah, and that's why they were on my top 5 worst teams of all time. The top 5 franchises. That's why they were on there. So with you, that I agreed with most of those people on that list, but there was one big guy you were leaving off there. That was my number 1 guy who stole money from a franchise. But obviously number 3 for me, I'll give you my top 3. So my third one was Bobby Bonilla. How can we not put him on this list with how much money he has gotten from that franchise? That was crazy. Number 2, and this, Vic, this might surprise you a little bit, and J-Mac, this might surprise you. Don't forget, this year, Atlanta signed Cole Hamels to give him $18 million, and the dude pitched one game. Not
even a full game.
He pitched 3 innings, and the dude got $18 million for pitching 3 innings.
I believe he threw.
I believe he sign up for this money. Right?
I believe he threw 41 pitches. So divide that real quick. 41 pitches by 18 billion and find out how much money he made per pitch.
So he made 18
It's like $400,000 a pitch.
Right.
So he made $18 million this year to pitch 3 innings, technically 41 pitches. That's how much money that dude made this year. That is horrible. And then my number one,
$439,000 a pitch.
How much?
$439,000 a pitch.
Yeah,
I'll pitch
crazy.
One pitch in Major League Baseball for that money.
I'll throw it halfway. I'll just take the 215. Right. Let's go.
Tell me that's not stealing money. That's stealing money from a franchise right there. That was a horrible signing.
Yeah,
my number 1 worst signing of all time for the dude to steal money. How could you not go with Jamarcus Russell? That dude stole money from Oakland.
Yeah.
They gave him a $61 million contract with $32 million guaranteed. And the dude's career record in Oakland was 7-18. And he held out on Oakland so he could get that kind of contract. And they gave it to him, and he didn't even last 2 full seasons. Talk about stealing money from a franchise. Jamarcus Russell stole that money and left all the way to the bank.
Yeah, now, is this not the same guy that they didn't know that he was, whether or not he was watching film? So they gave him blank VHS tapes and asked him to watch film, and he went home and said he did, that he watched every minute of the film the next day.
Yes, that was him. That was him.
I don't know how, as a coach, you didn't just cut him that day. You're like, dude, we know those were blank.
Well, number one, they saw him as the future of that team, and I don't know why, so they gave him a massive contract, and he did not live up to it at all. That's how bad that dude was. So, Vic, we'll go to you on this one. Who do you have?
All right, I'm gonna blow your minds with 2 of them. You're gonna agree with number 1. Maybe not. I'm gonna give you 3 and 2. Number 3, Los Angeles Angels, Josh Hamilton.
That's a legit one.
Yeah.
Come on, $125 million for 5 years, and not even worth it. Didn't do nothing for him. Number 2, this is where I'm going to get you. Los Angeles Angels, Albert Pujols. Why, you ask? 10 years, $240 million. Have they been to the playoffs? Have they won any series? No. All he's done is hurt his little footsies, get his 3,000s hit, got a bonus for that, but really has done nothing else and just took up all this money that they could have used for, I don't know, pitching.
Wasn't he like 32 when they signed him to this deal?
Somewhere in the vicinity, yeah.
Yeah. But they did make the playoffs. They did make the playoffs. There was 1 or 2 years they made the playoffs when it was Pujols and Hamilton, because they were like, everybody thought that they were going to win it, and then they choked in the playoffs.
All right.
He robbed them.
Yeah, he did.
Number 1, Melvin BJ.
Upton. Yeah.
Upton.
Yeah.
5 years, $75 million. He played 267 games, 910 at-bats, .198 average, with 324 strikeouts.
And so, if I remember right, Vic, correct me if I'm wrong. He was Melvin. He was Melvin Upton before he came to Atlanta. Changed his name to BJ Upton once we signed him. Then was so bad in Atlanta for another team to sign him, he had to go back to Melvin Upton, so they didn't realize it was the same person.
I think that's an urban legend.
I think so, but it's still
like
it all plays out that way. Like
we had to give up Craig Kimbrell just so that somebody would take him.
Yeah, which is sad. Like, in order to trade a BJ Upton, we had to trade him with somebody else.
Yeah, I forget who we got in that.
Well, we traded with the Padres, but I don't remember who we got.
I want to say it was a pitcher.
No. So we got if I remember right, we got a Quentin McCracken.
Cameron Maben.
Yep.
Carlos
Maben.
Quentin.
Yes, and Carlos Quentin.
Two minor leaguers and a draft pick.
And the only person that we used out of all that was Maven.
Yeah, and I like Maven.
Something tells me that the minor leaguer we got in that deal was Max Fried.
I think so.
I think we got Max Fried in that deal.
I think we got Austin Riley somewhere in that vicinity too.
Yeah, but I don't think it was in that deal. But Max Fried, I believe, came in that deal. So that was like the best thing we got from that deal. All right. So I think we all agree that all the people we just named stole money from the franchise with no problem there. So we're gonna jump ship and we're gonna drive around the track a little bit, and we're just gonna briefly talk about the NASCAR playoffs that are going on. Just briefly.
Matt Whistler. Matt Whistler.
Matt Whistler, that was it. Which
That's
we
who we
no
got.
longer have. Okay, so yeah.
Yeah.
So the NASCAR playoffs, we know that J-Mac has Kevin Harvick, Vic has Kevin Harvick. I picked Brad Keselowski. As we know, there's four drivers left with 3 races to go. Currently sitting in first place right now is still Kevin Harvick. Joey Logano won this previous race on Sunday. He won it. It was in Kansas. So with 3 races to go, you have Harvick that's in first place over Denny Hamlin right now. And Denny Hamlin is 21 points behind Kevin Harvick. Then you have a Brad Keselowski that is 33 points behind, and that was who I said was going to be my surprise pick, Brad Keselowski. And then your number 4 actually is Joey Logano, who won on Sunday, who's now 51 points behind Kevin Harvick. So 3 to go. It's going to be exciting to see the final 3 races because I think Brad Keselowski is going to pull it off.
We shall see.
And just to go back, Max Fried came to us from San Diego in the Justin Upton trade.
Okay. I knew we got him from San Diego. I just couldn't remember who we were traded for. So yeah,
Justin.
So with 3 races to go, I'm going to say let's go Keselowski because I see you being able to take that lead over Kevin Harvick. So the final race, no, you guys are saying no already. The final race of the year is what they call the Final 4, and that's when we'll see the final 4 drivers just battle it out. And that's when Keselowski, that's when he's going to make his move. All right. Did you guys have any comments on that?
I mean, no, Kevin Harvick's going to win it. I told you that, 3 weeks ago?
Yep. If you ain't first, you're last.
If you ain't first, you're last. That's right. All right. So our final topic of the night is we have what we call the top 5 boneheaded plays in sports history. So I'll go ahead and I'll start out with this one. And my number 5 on this one, and J-Mac, once you hear this, you're going to be like, oh yeah, that makes a good point. My number 5 was John Carney when he missed the field goal for the New Orleans Saints after they did all the laterals. They did 3 laterals on that play. There was 10 missed tackles to set it up. The Saints were down by 7 against Jacksonville. So they make this miraculous play. They lateral it 3 times. Jacksonville misses 10 tackles. New Orleans is able to score. They bring the game within 1. The only thing that the Saints have to do is make the extra point. Their kicker is John Carney. And keep in mind, the extra point on this point was when the ball was at the 2. Was when they kicked it from the 2. So what happens after all that? He shanks it, and the Saints lose by 1. And they were officially eliminated and not going to make the playoffs after that one. So that was definitely, I'm like, man, a kicker. You got one job, bro. And they just pulled off one of the biggest, most miraculous things you're going to see. And you blow it for the Saints. They don't even have a chance at the playoffs because you blew it. My number 4 was Michelle Wie. So what Michelle Wie did in golf was she only played the best 2 rounds that she ever golfed in her life, which was a 65 and a 67, only to be disqualified because she forgot to sign her scorecard. So she was disqualified, and the 2 rounds that she shot did not count. That is a boneheaded play. They teach you automatically in golf. You sign your scorecard. Boneheaded play. My number 3 play of all time was actually Chris Webber, but it was not when Chris Webber was in the NBA. It was actually when Chris Webber was in college. He called an illegal timeout. There was 5 seconds left. They had no timeouts left, and Chris Webber basically panicked. They had the ball, he panicked, he took a timeout, illegal timeout, so he turned the ball over, and they lose in the championship. Boneheaded play. You have to know better. Afterwards, he stated he knew there was no timeouts, yet he still called it. So, I don't know. Explain that. That's a boneheaded play. My number 2 boneheaded play of all time, Jose Canseco, when the ball bounces off of his head, goes over the wall for a home run. Yes, Jose Canseco is known for home runs, his power, and the steroid era, but to me, this is what stuck out with Jose Canseco. The fly ball off the head going over the wall for a home run. Boneheaded play. My number 1 boneheaded play of all time, we call this the miracle at the Meadowlands. When the Giants have the lead against the Eagles, and all they have to do is take a knee, and the game is over. Instead, they want to run another play to try and show up the Eagles, and what do? They fumble the ball, and a guy by the name of Herman Edwards comes and picks up the ball, runs it back for a touchdown, and the Eagles win. All I can say is he played to win the game. And
You play to
win the game. And he played to win the game. That's all I can say. He played to win that game, and he did. So that was my number 1 boneheaded play of all time, because all they had to do was take a knee on the ball, and the game was over. Instead, they try and rub it in, fumble, touchdown, Eagles win. Vic.
Yes. Is Randy on? Please tell me Randy's on.
Randy is not on.
Oh, come on.
Sorry.
All right, we're going to need to tell him to watch this. Number 5, I have Jose Canseco, ball off the head.
Mm-hmm.
Hilarious. Was he dating Madonna at the time of that? I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe he was confused. Number 4, Leon Lett.
Yep.
Forgot the ball on the way to the end zone. Mm-hmm. Anybody remember this Super Bowl?
Yes, when he thought there was nobody behind him. And
Don Beebe was behind him.
There was a guy by the name of Don Beebe who came up and stripped him.
And a touchback was ruled.
Yes.
All right, number 3, Washington Redskins, Gus Frerotte.
Oh.
Let me go ahead and
let
me go ahead and headbutt this concrete wall, and then get a concussion and leave the game, and then my career's over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that really happened. Can't make it up. Number 1, Chris Webber, timeout. Just come on, Chris. You're better than that. I hate Duke. I hate North Carolina. I remember who they were playing. I hated them. And I hear now, I think it was North Carolina or Duke.
They were playing Duke.
I guess at Midnight Madness for Duke every year, they now yell timeout at midnight. Number 1, Randy, this is just for you. Thanksgiving Day, Leon Lett in the snow. Doesn't know just to stay away from the ball. Just leave it alone. Don't go near it. Don't touch it. But he did. He probably thought it was a turkey. But it was a football. And yet the Cowboys did it again. Where is Leon Lett nowadays? Is he even playing nowadays?
No.
No.
So
because he's a bonehead.
So, did you see that actually happened in an NFL game again about a week ago? A kick was blocked, and the guy thought all he had to do was run up and recover it. So he went up and touched the ball, and then he set it down, and the other team picked it up and scored a touchdown. I was like, oh my god, it's the Leon Lett all over again. It's all over again, Leon Lett. J Mac.
All right. Number 5. Double doink. All I need to say. That's all I need to say. Cody Parkey with the double doink. Number 4. I'm with you guys on the consistency of Jose Canseco. That was a terrible play. Like, that's always going to be in the top 5 no matter what. Number 3. This one's off the field. Okay? Trading the farm to trade up and draft Mitchell Trubisky is by far the worst play in Chicago Bears history. It doesn't matter if it was on the field or not. It was terrible.
So a question on that, though. So you say that was one of the worst moves in Chicago Bears history, but let's not forget, though, that Chicago also traded the farm to acquire a Jay Cutler.
No doubt. I mean, they're
Right?
But at least Cutler, the one thing you can give Cutler, at least he won him some games and made him somewhat irrelevant there. Like Mitchell Trubisky, I saw a stat that 2 years ago, he was the 33rd rated quarterback in the NFL. And we all know there's 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. And he ranked 33rd in QBR.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just remember that when we remember that he was drafted 2nd overall and they sold the farm. Okay? Number 2, J.R. Smith. Just pass the ball, man. Like, know that there's time left on the clock. Know that you're losing, not winning. They pass the ball into you, and you stand there with it. And everyone's screaming at you, and you stand there with the ball until the time runs out. That'll be an all-time meme forever. But just do something with the ball. Don't just stand there. Number 1, biggest bonehead play of all time. I get it was from this year. But it's the only reason that the Dallas Cowboys are 2-4 instead of 1-5.
The onside kick.
Can you just fall on the damn ball, please? Like, you're standing there staring at it. What? I still don't know what Atlanta was thinking.
Leon Lett would have fell on it.
At least he would have tried to fall on the ball. At least like a Brandon Bostic in Green Bay, like you try to recover the ball. I'm done. They just stand there looking at it. They're just like, oh, look, there's the ball. What's going on? I mean, come on. Just fall on the ball. That's it. That's the 5. So,
besides Mike McCarthy, Brandon Bostic.
Oh, my God, Jason.
For me. That's another hot topic for me. I don't like Brandon Bostic, and don't get me started on Mike McCarthy. Okay. And Vic's just shaking her head there. I can see it now. So, those were some. I really hope everybody enjoyed those topics, because that's not something that we normally do. But I thought it made for an interesting show to kind of break down the top 5 of different things in history of sports. To go on the real side for just a second, the one thing that I quickly want to touch on is see if you guys agree with me, because it's kind of been the hot topic that we've been talking about in our chat over the last 2 days, and that's the whole Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Tua. Do you guys really think it was the right move to bench Ryan Fitzpatrick and go with Tua? So I have said it's not. When you're winning and you're playing, Fitzpatrick was actually playing good. So how can you bench a guy that's actually been playing good? And you're like, okay, we're winning games. He's playing good, but we're going to bench him and we're going to put in Tua. That doesn't make any sense. I guess that's why he's Brian Flores, and that's why they're the Dolphins. All right.
They're fixing to trade him.
Yeah, you were saying that too, and it could be a possibility.
Jets.
Boy, I will feel sorry for Fitzpatrick if he goes.
No, man, no.
He's
Go
already
Cleveland.
been there.
Yeah, but Fitzpatrick deserves better.
No, he's got to go to another team because he's got to set another record at being with a team.
Cowboys.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, that's
I'd take
Jerry
him over
Jones has
Andy
done
Dalton.
wackier things. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So, J-Mac, what was your opinion on that? Was it the right call?
No, it wasn't. But I will say that if you go back to the NFL preview show that we did, I said that Tua would be starting by week 8.
Yeah,
I did
but
say that I did say that the Dolphins would be 0-7 by the time he started. So I was a little off on that prediction. I'll admit that. I'll eat my humble pie on that one. But I did say that Tua would be starting by week 8. So he is starting by week 7. So I did call that one right, even though I don't think it's the right decision. No.
Yeah, and Fitzpatrick came out and said his heart actually hurt after they told him. He said he was shocked. He wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, he was balling.
He was.
The Amish rifle.
And so that's why I'm saying I don't understand it. So Vic, what was your thought on that? Like, what? Is it the right call?
No, not at all. But I think that Tua was drafted at number 5.
Yes.
Justin was number 6. They're seeing the success that Joe and Justin are having, and they don't want to be the ones that held back. They want a piece of that media. They want a piece of that time. Oh, now we're going to start Tua. Pay some attention.
Yeah, but now what's going to happen if the Dolphins start losing? Then everybody's going to question it and be like, you were winning with Fitzpatrick and you pull him out, and then you start losing with Tua. So it's going to be a big question.
Didn't say they were smart.
No, yeah. I know. I get it. Trust me.
But I think they just want, they see the success that Justin's having specifically. And they're like, well, we drafted this guy 1 ahead of him. Our guy's got to be better. I think they're just setting themselves up to
fail. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
To go 3-13.
I love your guys' opinion. It's been a hot topic the last couple days. I really hope everybody enjoyed our show. I want to say congratulations to the Tampa Bay Rays tonight for pulling off the victory over the Dodgers. Let's keep it going, Tampa Bay Rays. Let's win your first World Series. That would be fantastic if you could do that. The series is tied at 1-1. You can catch the game again tomorrow if you want for Game 3. Let's go Rays. Let's take it. And anything else, J-Mac, you want to say?
Make sure to check out our page. We're going to be uploading some merchandise on there. We already have the T-shirts. We're trying to get some stuff done to get some promo packages and get some more merchandise out. Make sure you check that on our Facebook page at ASAP, the All Sports All Plays Network Facebook page.
All right, Vic, you have anything else you want to say?
2 things. If you bean Corey Seager, I won't be mad. Just saying. Next thing, just to go back a little bit, Mr. Melvin Upton got paid $232,000 per strikeout. That is all.
That's horrible.
I could strike out that much and make that much money.
Thanks for that depressing news.
Yeah,
You're
that
welcome.
was horrible news. All right. Well, I think that's going to be it for our show. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Of course, we want you to come back and check out more episodes on the ASAP Sports Network. This is the Sports Minute. Tomorrow, which is Thursday, you'll be able to catch Real Talk with Freddie and Chris. And then you can also watch our Thursday night post-game show after the Thursday night game. So I hope everybody has a fantastic night, and we will see you again, and we will actually see you on Saturday. So
Saturday.
So have a great night.
We out.
Deuces.